What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Marcus of Invent Animate. It is so great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. It's so awesome to have you here. I was just listening to your brand new album, Heavener. It is absolutely kick ass. For people who haven't heard the full length album yet, do you feel that the first three singles that we heard so far off this album are a good representation of this entire album, or is that just scratching the surface of what's to come?
I think so. These three singles got, we kind of just wanted to, especially with the first two. So Shade Stray and Elysium, we wanted to put out the big songs, like the obvious bangers in our opinion. And then we're like, what do we do next? And we just put out Immolation of Night because it's a stupid song. It's just heavy, it's just fun. We poured our heaviness into it, obviously, because it's a little bit odd compared to the what Invent Animate has released before. And I would say it's a good representation for sure. Every element that's on the album is probably in those songs. There is some stuff that we haven't showed as of yet, and I'm so excited to like show everybody like our little more poppy vibe that we're going on in that album. Also, there's some fun shit, heavy shit still on that album that I'm so excited for people to see. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for everybody to hear this. This is an album that definitely covers all aspects of the periodic table of metal subgenres. Um, was the intention to just make like a direct continuation of Greyview in a way, or being that you released the Sun Sleeps as It Never Was EP between Greyview and this, that this is almost signaling like a new beginning in a way, or that last EP was sort of like a trailer or preview?
That's a good question. I think Graveyard was definitely like more about trying to create some kind of new out of it in an anime because obviously new singer. So yeah, I think uh, we definitely tried just to see where we could go with me and try to evolve in an animate sound on that album. So Gravy has nothing to do with the new record, in my opinion. I think the EP, as if the Sun Sleep as if it never was more of a like, okay, let's try to make something new. And that was definitely the first step in the right direction for us, especially with me as a vocalist, because it was more vocals oriented. That it was definitely some kind of way to really try our wings for sure, especially for me because I produced the vocals all by myself. That we did the lyrics and melody together, but I produced it myself, which gave me more of a freedom to really get the best of me into an anime. And we basically did that with the new album as well. Uh, because I produced all the screens myself, a little bit of the singing, and then we did most of the singing with Landon Tours of the Platinum, which turned out great. We definitely could like try out different things. We had time to do different things, and everyone was on board. Like, yeah, let's try to keep vocals more in the center on this album, and it turned out great in my opinion. I really love doing that.
Well, does it ever start off with a preconceived vision of what you want a specific Invent Animate song or album to sound like, or being that your music really has many different elements in it, you kind of the songwriting is like a very improvisational and more experimental process.
I think on the new album for sure, we did have some kind of vision. Like, yeah, we really want to pull out as much as we can out of the vocals and try to make them sit more because a lot of the songs in Gravy are like, yeah, instrumental masterpieces where we try to piece in vocals into it more. While on this new album, we definitely like instrumental good songs, but when we started putting vocals, we're like, hey, what if we moved this instrumental part this way? Because then I will be able to do this with the vocals. So it was a lot of back and forth, working, experimenting, progressive kind of workflow on the new album, which was sick. But yeah, vision wise, I think I think every song just we as you said the periodic table of metalcore.
Mm-hmm.
We have our bits and pieces in our sound that we want to use, and we just take hey this piece right here. Let's take that and make a whole fucking song out of it.
Yeah.
instead of just trying to crunch everything into every song always.
Yeah.
That's why Immolation of Night is one of those songs, like just a
Well, I'd imagine that with your fairly experimental sound, that kind of makes it a little bit easier to sort of try new things. It's not like you're confined to a specific formula, right?
yeah, true. No, we definitely could spread our wings and niche down on some specific aspects of our sound. So it's good to have that kind of pile of stuff that just grab something. Let's make a fucking cake out of just this ingredients.
Well, I mean, every song too not only has like its own different like sounds in terms of metalcore and prog and all this stuff, but like I've thought that every song has like its own sort of vibe in a way. Like when you get to like the single like Shade Astray, and you're right, Immolation of the Night, like that's very different. But when you get to a track such as like Void Surfacing or Ember Glow, it almost seems like they all sort of in a way play by their own emotions. Is every song more or less a reflection of who you and your bandmates were sort of feeling at that time, or do you use this music as more of kind of like an escapism in a way where you're not bringing too much of your personal life or personal emotions into it?
I think this is probably the most personal record we've ever made, in my opinion, at least. I wasn't involved at all with two oldest records, obviously, but in my opinion, I think we definitely write the song first and instrumentally try to set the mood. And then when you set the mood, that kind of gives you inspiration to what you want to bring forth lyrically. And this album does have a lot of heavy personal stuff pour into it. It's not always obvious what it's about, which is cool in my opinion. But I definitely feel like this is the most obvious record to date and lyrically. Like it's more open, honest, sincere, but it's still that little bit of like, hey, you can interpret this exactly how you want it to.
Have you always?
So, yeah.
Oh, sorry, you were saying.
No, no, you go, sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask. Have you always needed to hear the music before you came up with the lyrics, or could a lyrical idea that you present to the band maybe help guide the way that the song is going to sound?
No, I think so. What I did, especially on the songs where I wrote most of the lyrics on this album, I pre-write lyrics all the time. If I think of something, I try to write it down just to have material, and it's also a good way to cope with shit. And I think when they write a good song, I'm like, hey, okay, I have like 30 songs worth of lyrics in my phone in the notes app, and let's see what kind of uh, which one of these lyrics that I've written fits into this, and we kind of just take that, put it in that song, move around words and things, and it also makes me come up with new words. Like if I put in a sentence in like a chorus, that makes me like, holy shit, I can say this as well, and it makes sense melodically very very well, and it makes sense with the lyrics that I already had. So it is like a puzzle always. But I have written lyrics to a like if I get an instrumental song and I don't have lyrics that fits into it, I might write new lyrics towards what that song makes me feel.
If
So it's all there's not an obvious formula when it comes to our songwriting. We do it in every different way possible, just to get it as good as possible.
Yeah. Well,
So,
the new material that you wrote with Greyview and Heavener and the Sun Sleeps EP is absolutely killer. You're always gonna have those diehard fans who may want to hear stuff off of Still World or Everchanger. So, if performing those songs, does it maybe resonate with you in a different way, or feel differently in a specific way, or maybe is it a different mind frame in a way when you're performing those songs as opposed to the songs with the lyrics that you wrote?
I think the old songs are. I mean, I like those songs as a fan, obviously, and it's fun. It's basically just fun for me to play those songs. Tiny bit of honor, because the songs are so well written and so good. But it's not personal at all for me. The show is personal. I'm still the one standing there. They're still listening to me singing these lyrics. So it's still personal in that way, but not lyrically. You know what I mean?
In order to get that inspiration to write the lyrics, is inspiration something that could be sought out? Like, do you look for the inspiration, or do you prefer to put pen to paper when the inspiration strikes you in a way?
I think definitely both. That's a boring ass answer, sorry, but it
No,
is definitely both. It's more like sometimes it just comes to me out of nowhere, and sometimes I have to like push for it to kind of like go over that edge into. And like if imagine if you have some kind of like there's a hill, steep hill, and then you have a stone wall, and on the other side is the hot spring. Like you have to push yourself, and at the end you get over the wall and then down into the hot spring of lyrical heaven. That's pretty much how it is. Because I've always been like a personally like a not a fighter, but like I'm very I kind of just push until I get where I want to be. It's always been, especially with my musical career, it's been that way. And it's definitely that with lyrics sometimes. But sometimes I'm like, okay, this is a cool word. Like, this is a cool word. How can I get this word into a sentence? And then I create a sentence that sounds sick. And I'm like, oh my God, this means this. And I feel this. And it's just like, builds itself. But to be able to build it, you actually have to sit down and put energy into it because otherwise, it's for me, especially, I can't just have greatness come to me. I have to, yeah, like you say, seek it out a little bit, pretty much.
yeah, I had a conversation with my tattoo artist one time about this, where she said that if she only tattooed when she was inspired, she wouldn't be able to pay the rent. So like, it's good to have the inspiration strike you, but sometimes you have to make an effort to find that inspiration yourself.
Yeah, true. It's definitely that way. I get inspiration a lot of times on tour, and like whenever we're in studio and I'm supposed to write lyrics, you feel like the pressure pushes so hard that it automatically spits out ideas in a weird way because I'm in that zone, kind of. It's a weird thing to think. I never thought about that way, to be honest.
Hmm. Does it always come from an internal source or an external source? Does it come from both ways, or would you say that all stuff is coming internally, or all stuff is coming from external?
Uh, on the new album, I've written songs that um, uh, about stuff that I felt 10 years ago. I've written a song about things I feel right now, and I've written songs about stuff that I felt 15 years ago and realized that I felt it now. So it's like, oh, bits and pieces of everything. And I know Keaton, our guitarist, wrote a song that's pretty good. It's very good, sorry, about personal grief and stuff. That's like he felt a little, not right now, but like a couple years ago. So I would definitely say it comes from pretty much anything. As I said, there's no like formula to it.
Yeah.
It's just bits and pieces here and there.
Well, sometimes you're working on a song for, days and weeks, maybe months even. So if you're working on a song for a long period of time, is it sort of make it a little more difficult to hold on to the emotion that initially sparked the idea, or are you able to kind of like freeze frame the emotion and put yourself back in that feeling at will?
I think some songs definitely like are lyrically more personal, and that makes you cling on to the lyrics more than the actual like melodies and breakdowns and cool shit and nice shit and stuff that sounds sad. But some songs you write about something to get it off your chest, and then when you've gotten it off your chest, you make sure the song has as much meaning melodically as possible. Because even Animate has always been very like, okay, we have to have a certain emotion kind of like coming through the melody of the aspect. That's why it's so ambient. Almost all even Animate songs are like very ambient and also always have some kind of melody going on. Or it's pure chaos, but chaos is also an emotion. So, but I do get what you're saying. Like it's sometimes I write a song definitely, and like I felt it when I wrote it, when I started writing it, and at the end, it's just about finishing the song and make it sound good.
Well, chaos is always a great subject matter for art and creativity, But I always like asking this question because sometimes when chaos is that form, artists can sometimes becomes victims of their own product, as I say. So would you say
Yeah.
that like if chaos is the formula, that maybe that can make the songwriting process maybe just as deteriorating as it could be cathartic? I mean, a no pain, no game, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely hard work put into it, and I've definitely gained depression from writing a depressing song. But it's never about the emotion or the lyrics. It's always about finishing the song and make it as good as possible. Because sometimes we've written a song for 2 months. We're like, okay, it's kind of done now. And just put it aside, work on something new. And then we go back and like, holy shit, this sucks. We got to redo this thing or write something new. And we definitely have songs that didn't end up on the album that we felt like didn't meet the bar of the other songs.
Yeah, of course.
So, no, I definitely feel that way.
Yeah. Ever worried that the song you leave out will be a B side one day and just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
We have a song, I think, that's very good that I want to end up on the album. It's definitely going to end up some kind of deluxe edition in the future, I guess.
Oh, the plot thickens.
It's very good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You you mentioned that Heavener is fairly open to interpretation as well. So if your fan interprets it in their own way, or people, or just so much as when you're playing it live and people are experiencing it, do you think that adds another layer of context or meaning to the song or the album as well?
Yeah, a lot of people, especially in our genre, I see more and more that people come up to, not just me, but the other bands that we tour with, and just tell them half a life story about how they saved their lives and how much meaning their songs actually have in their lives. And like I've seen people, because Elysium is written about me not coping with the loss of my grandfather. It's like, cause like when that happened, I was young. I was 15, but I just emotions in that way didn't exist to me. Like I knew people were sad when people passed away, but I just didn't feel it. I don't know why, because we were close. And but that hit me 10 years after that when I was 25. So that's 4 years ago. And I was like, what the fuck am I feeling right now? And it was depression from that. It's just very delayed. And people come up to me and they say, I've heard several people say, like, hey, listen means so much to me. And they like tell me something different, like them struggling with addiction and that made it resonate with them. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool that it can mean different things. Like it means something completely different, even though the lyrics, in my opinion, obviously because I'm biased when I wrote the song, it's very straightforward. But when I read it and don't think about that, it's definitely open for interpretation, and that makes it way cooler, in my opinion.
Definitely, definitely. I have a few more
Yeah.
questions for you. When it comes to like the overall songwriting with the band, is it better if everybody in the band has the same mutual feeling about a song and everybody is in a constant agreement, or could people being in a different headspace or being in a different state of mind actually help enhance the song and like add more variety and contrast to it?
I'll tell you this. It feels better when we're in a different headspace, but it's not always the best because it gets very like one-sided. Sometimes, like "Immolation of Night" is a song where it's like it's okay if everyone's on the same page because it's more of a niche song. But like "Shade Stray," for example, that song has fucking everything Animate can give you, pretty much, on a silver platter. And I think we need to be on a different kind of page, but in a healthy way, so it doesn't stir up some other feelings that's not supposed to be in the workroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Because writing songs as a group, which we do, all of us are involved in some way. Um, it can be very like stressful, and feelings can get hurt if you're voted out or whatever. But in the end, we always seem to like agree on the bigger picture of the songs.
Yeah, it's funny because whenever I ask a band how the making of an album was, and I hear, "Oh, we all mutually came together with the making of this album," I'm like, I don't really believe it because you're a group between 3 to 5 band members. You're writing a dozen or so songs. There's gonna be disagreements somewhere, but I think maybe that disagreement actually helps
Yeah,
open minds and explore new territory.
yeah. If you're not coming from different, because you always want to think outside the box if the song is the box, but you don't want to think outside the box from the same angle because then you don't see what you're gonna see from the other side. So we're definitely like from each every side. Sometimes I agree with him, sometimes no one agrees with me, and it's like it's always gonna be in some certain way. It's I think it's definitely better when you come from different sides. The product always becomes the best, but it's always someone can always have a good idea, but a good idea is not a good finished product, in my opinion.
Of course.
Because an idea still has to, because an idea can be shitty, but that doesn't take away the aspect of what it can become. And I feel like if you're several people working on the same product, uh, that's the productive way. If you're not agreeing 100%, you need to agree a little bit because it doesn't matter. Like it still has to be a good song. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how it sounds. It has to be a good song, in my opinion.
Yeah, something could sound great and not be a good song because its structure could be off, or
Yeah,
even its subject matter or something could be off as well. So, like, I think in the end, just because it's a good song, something that's like, how many times have we heard a horrific demo of a great song? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's true. No, I there's a band from Sweden called Adept, and I remember hearing them for the first time. The demo sucked, but still enjoyed the song.
Yeah,
And then they did a full real production of that song eventually, and it just sounded fucking great. And they became the one of the biggest metalcore bands in Europe. So
yeah,
at that time,
yeah, of course. Metalcore, I've always thought like it sounds the best when it's well done, not medium rare.
yeah, no, definitely, we're definitely coming to a point where almost every product that's released today from artists that really put their blood, sweat, and tears into it actually sounds good as well. It's not just well written because like people get their own computers and they have their own studio software and shit. So
Yeah.
and information how to learn how to produce stuff is out there. I mean, maybe you're not able to do a fully fleshed, super mastered product, but you'll definitely be able to get a product to sound good.
Definitely. And the final question I wanted to ask you is about the Invent Animate live presence. Because is there at all maybe a similar energy that's channeled into your live show as there is when you're songwriting, or do you consider songwriting and playing live two completely separate energies, two completely separate forms of self-expression altogether?
I feel like writing muse when it comes to like attitude, for example, I think when you're writing an album, you have a feeling first and then you write it. But live, you kind of work on it a little bit every night of every tour and it just becomes slowly a little bit better. We do have our vibe, like how we look and how we present ourselves. But it's definitely like a thing we work on every night and just get better and better and better.
Yeah, of course.
It's
And
just a little bit. It is definitely different, in my opinion. But I feel like I don't know. I can't see ourselves from the outside. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's very hard. But from what I've heard people tell, they love. It's kind of chaotic on stage, but it's getting more controlled, chaotic. You know what I mean? We're kind of taming the beast a little bit from what we used to be live. And I guess that comes with experience and age and how many live performances you've made. So
yeah, and you've played with a variety of different bands too. Like one
yeah,
minute you're playing with like a Silent Planet or a Currents, fellow metalcore band, but then I know that you've played with that Invent Animate has played with a band like Amur and has also played with Intervals. So like it just seems like the type of tour you're on could also
yeah,
impact the live presence as well.
yeah, definitely. We have to like like for example, the last tour we did in Europe on the Never Say Die, we played with bands like Suicide Silence, Spite. We had to really put in a heavier gear and go more crazy than sounding good kind of thing. Because we were definitely not the heaviest band on that tour. And but tours like now, for example, we're playing with Era, Silent Planet, and Sentinels. We could definitely dive into our more emotional side because every band on this tour is melodical in a way. But I feel like we're definitely slowly getting into some kind of vibe that we have our own. But when we tour, like every time I watch a band on tour, I go to the next tour and I do something on stage and I'm like, oh my God, I just copied the guy from the last tour without even thinking about it. So you kind of mirror yourself off different kind of fun then,
Yeah.
which is cool because eventually it becomes your own product with small bits and pieces from external sources.
Yeah, everybody evolves in their own signature way, and that's what makes everybody different. It's not what you do, it's how you evolve.
Yeah, true. That's true. I agree with that.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for such an awesome conversation. Just with the release of Heavener, what else can we be expecting from Invent Animate in the future, if you're allowed to say, of course?
The only thing we have after that's officially in the books right now after the release of the album is the tour we're doing with Bad Omens. We're doing a short B market tour run in the States in May,
Yeah.
end of April, May. And we're also adding a couple of shows to that we're announcing soon, which is going to be sick, just to make that a longer run. Because I'm not from the States, so I have to like fly a little earlier and try to make it worth the whole tour, the whole trip.
D- Damn right. It's definitely
Yeah,
going to be
so
worth it. Yeah, but thank you so much.
yeah.
Everybody, we are here with Invent Animate. Be sure to check out Heavener. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.